Hey, so I just finished reading What is Life by Erwin Schrodinger. Erwin Schrodinger was a quantum physicist in the early 20th century, early 1900s or so. Um, so he had a very unique take on biology and other such topics. This book, first off, it's published by Cambridge University Press, so it is a legitimate academic book. Look, Cambridge, uh, Cambridge. Yeah, there. So it is a legitimately academic book. Um, Secondly, this is actually three books in one. It is What is Life, it is Mind and Matter, and it is Autobiographical Sketches, which is the shortest section in the book. So, being that What is Life was originally published in 1944, it is quite old, and we have almost 100 years of hindsight behind us to talk about it. Mind and Matter was published in 1958, and Autobiographical Sketches was written in 1960, although I don't really know when exactly it was published. I didn't bother looking that up. So let's start with What is Life? What is Life goes through different quantum mechanical and chemical uh, functions and how they relate to biology. Schrodinger, as far as I know, was the first person to try to do this. At least he was the first person to go into detail about this in the way that he did. Chromosomes had been discovered at the time, which is something I did not know. I did not know chromosomes had been discovered that early on in our timeline. And he talks about the discovery of chromosomes and how molecules make up chromosomes, and therefore molecules must be studied in order to understand the chromosomes and then thusly to understand life. So he also talks about uh, mutation, and specifically, he talks about how X-rays cause mutation at a molecular level, which was way ahead of his time. Way ahead of his time. His work essentially predicted the discovery of DNA, and in fact, this book was uh, actually part of the inspiration to Francis Crick and I forget the other scientist who discovered DNA, to look for the structure, the molecular structure of the building blocks of life. And so they used this book to discover DNA. They also used LSD, but that's beside the point. um, one interesting thing he talks about in his section on mutations is jump like mutations. And a jump like mutation is a rapid set of mutations that happens spontaneously at a random interval. And it's very reminiscent of the punctuated equilibrium discussed by Stephen Jay Gould and Michael Rothschild in Bionomics. Um, so, Mind and Matter actually is the second book in the book, and Mind and Matter essentially tries to obliterate the distinction between mind and matter. It is anti-dualist. It is monist, if you will. Now, monism can refer to a wide range of beliefs, and I'm not too familiar with monism, although I will be looking into Philip Goff and Bertrand Russell as in the future, as I look into monism and consciousness and whatnot. So essentially, uh, there's only 6 chapters in Mind and Matter, and he covers religious topics as well as scientific topics. He also covers philosophical topics. I don't know if he read any phenomenological works because there were quite a few phenomenology books available at the time in 1958. Husserl had published all of his writings before that time, and Merleau-Ponty actually published his work in 1945. And Schrodinger apparently does have a bit of French language capability, because he talks about French language things in here in this book. So it's possible he read some Husserl or some Merleau-Ponty, but he doesn't make mention of either of them. And you know what? It really would be interesting to get a quantum physicist to sit down and read Merleau-Ponty and hear what they have to say about it. The final book is Autobiographical Sketches, and this is just telling a bit of life history. It's kind of random. Doesn't have to do with a whole lot, but basically how he came to be where he is, and that was in 1960. And he covers World War I and World War II, and he covers the times in between, and he covers the how he actually suffered with poverty after World War I. So, and everyone suffered poverty after World War I because it was just a disaster, and there was there were all sorts of issues that came about from that. This book was actually sent to me by my friend Kashif, the founder of the Meta Right. And I've been on a bit of a biology kick since last year. Last year I read Lamarck, I read The Red Queen, I've read, I forget what else I read. Oh, Cosmogenesis, which had some biology in it, and I read those socionomics books, which had some biology in them. And now I've read What is Life, which is a quantum physicist's take on biology. And overall, I'd say this is a pretty good book, but you'll get more out of a newer book than you will out of this book, because this is the foundational text essentially. So it's not very great. Anyway, that's about all. Thank you for watching. Peace.